Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. We got four deep today. Class of, I don't know, 2043 recruit here. But we also got Coach Dub. We got Justin Wells. And we're here to talk a little bit of recruiting. I know it's an eventful day on the 40 acres with guys saying they're going to be heading to the draft. But we got some recruiting intel because Justin has some nice updates on some out-of-state guys, especially as we get closer and closer to the junior day. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Of course, head to InsideTexas.com. You can subscribe and you can go ahead and get all the scoop. I know everybody's asking who's leaving and who's staying. We're trying to keep this recruiting focus. We'll talk a little bit about that and maybe some of the recruiting implications. But again, I'm going to appoint everybody. Go to InsideTexas.com, sign up. I think you can still get 1 week of access for just $1. We have a lot more insight there on the portal. I think Wednesday is the very, very last day people can declare for the draft or enter. But we also, Justin, got a junior day, and there are a couple guys who are heading in from out of state who are planning to make it to Austin sometime next week.
Absolutely. Because look, no matter what's happening on the 40 acres, recruiting never stops, ever. And this staff right now is preparing big time for this 2026 cycle. You got me messed up with Paulie's classification. Just a couple new ones Charlie and I were talking about this morning. Jabari Mack, he is a top target, probably the top out-of-state target on the big board for Texas right now, out of New Orleans down in Destrian. He told me I got to call up with him this morning. I'm going to have something up pretty quick or pretty soon, maybe today, maybe tomorrow from him. He's loving Texas. He loves Chris Jackson and Steve Sarkisian. He's one of those kids. You're going to see a lot of kids in this 2026 cycle, guys, that after watching this last season, the 2024 season, heading to the playoff, doing everything they did, you're going to start to see some overlap now. You're going to see some kids. The fruit of that success is about to start to bear. And so there's another big-time receiver. This guy's even more highly rated. We broke this morning, Naeem Burrows out of Jacksonville, Florida, the Bowles School. He's going to be on campus in 2 weekends for junior day as well. And so, Texas, they like – there's a handful of receivers they like in state. Chris Stewart, obviously, he's a member of the class. Caden Finley is at near the top of the big board as well. But don't be surprised if they go, out of state pretty hard again like they did last year. I was told this morning the number's going to be 4. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of barrels down. But look, this list is building out. It is growing and is expanding. We're trying to update this thing as much as possible. And so again, no matter what's happening on the 40 acres right now, recruiting never dies. And that junior day list just got a lot better this morning.
I think if I remember right, LeBaron Johnson from the Longhorn baseball team went to the Bowles School. So don't know if they know each other. That's a long connection.
Coach, they offered an O lineman from there like last year or the year before. And that's the only way I recognize that school's name.
Coach, something that you put together that we'll get on Inside Texas either today or tomorrow is kind of a letter to the 2026 cycle. Now that, there's like one big recruit left in 2025 and Texas is not involved with him. So now everybody's focus is starting to shift a little bit more towards the 2026 cycle, and you have some thoughts on what those guys need to take into account and prepare for as everything starts to shift their direction.
Yeah, look, this 2026 class has seen Texas have successes recently, right? Like in high school, it really would matter. You watch football growing up, but when you're in high school, you really start to pay attention to college football. And these kids have seen Texas rise from 5-7 to where they're at now, back-to-back playoff appearances, semifinal games, 10 yards away from going to the national championship. Twice pretty much, right? And you just landed the number 1 recruiting class. If Texas is recruiting you now, they're saying, hey, I need you to come be the final piece of this puzzle to get us over the hump. That really means something, right? Because they can be selective in who they offer, who they target, who they go after. So you should feel special if Texas is recruiting you, they're targeting you because they feel like you're the missing piece to get over the hump. And that's how I would feel as a 2026 recruit. So that's what the letter was about. Hey, take notice, right? Because every school offers you, every school recruits you. But look at where Texas is as far as the program and how close they are to getting to the national championship. If they're recruiting you, it's because they say, "Hey, come on, we think you can be a piece of this puzzle." So, really take that into account when these coaches are hitting you up.
Justin, one thing that I like to talk about is the different tales of development that Texas has. And I think I'm going over the 2021 class right now.
Okay.
And unless they redshirted, they're out of eligibility. And in Texas 2021 class, everybody but one offensive lineman who doesn't play is going to be out of eligibility. But there are multiple tales of development within that class. And heck, you can even look at just one position at tight end, and that you have Jatavian Sanders, 5-star, highly rated athlete, but 5-star, became a tight end. Took about a year on special teams to really get going. But once he did, he's basically set every record at Texas for a tight end until Gunnar Helm broke it. So that's one tale. And then you got the other one. You got Gunnar Helm himself, who saw a little bit of playing time in 2021, was on the field at Arkansas. And then now, kind of played second fiddle for a few years before taking over that first tight end role. And granted, 14-game season, but had over 700 yards receiving, was, a huge weapon, especially even in the college football playoff run for the Longhorns. So there's more tales of development. As much as people want to harp on Quinn Ewers is getting drafted, and then when you're sitting in a living room, which they can go into now in this time of year, or in a coach's office, the fact that you can go in and say, look, Quinn Ewers came to Texas, I got him drafted, the next guy is going to be drafted, I have this position. Like the tales of development that this coaching staff has, especially for the 2026 class, is more complete than it was for the 2025 class, and they still got a number one class out of it.
How often do we have kids tell us, did you see how many players were drafted last year from that program? I mean, we hear that all the time. If you go, we'll be on, Charlie and I are going to be on the roads quickly, and we're going to ask kids, hey, what are you looking at? And you know what they're going to talk about? Well, man, did you see what Texas had 10 guys drafted last year? They could have 7 or 8 drafted this year, including maybe a half a dozen non-drafted free agents. That's the essence of development. And in most cases, those were kids in the class. Now, you do have a few guys that were transfer kids that maybe needed a contract year, or they needed a better season, one more season closer to home. But for the most part, these are guys that Texas groomed. And, I was talking to one of the players' parents this morning about the development factor and how important it's going to be going into the 2025 season, how vital it's going to be, because that's just the way college football is moving right now. And so I think that the proof is in the pudding. And when you're putting dudes in the league, that's the signal. I mean, LSU, I'll never forget when they won in 2019, when they won the national title. The next year, they roll over to April in 2020. They had 14 guys selected in that draft. And then they signed a top 3 class, just like that. Like they had half that class in the cycle by the summertime. It was crazy how fast LSU maximized that opportunity. Hey, you want to go to the draft? You can do that. And also, these players have stories. They'll tell you about how great Kyle Flood has been for their life. They'll tell you how great a Johnny Nansen and a Terry Joseph and a Chris Jackson and a Tashard Choice. Like these players have a testimony that these recruits will listen to when they come to junior days, and when they come to these visits for scrimmages, and when they come do stuff for summer, for spring games and all those. They interact a lot with these players, and those are questions that get asked pretty often. And so this is basically Sark's been there for a full 4 years. He's had 4 full classes, and just the development in and of itself has been absolutely tremendous. And like I said, there's been a few guys here and there that have come in from the portal, but for the most part, these are guys that Texas cherry picked. Like these are guys that they went out, found, developed, and created. And I think that's partly how they signed the number one class in 2025. It wasn't just the draft last year or the draft that's going to be coming up in 3 months. It's going to be next year's draft, because that's going to be big. You're talking about that's the Anthony Hill draft. That's the potential. There's other ones that you're going to have to be watching. And so it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. But at the end of the day, Sark has put proof in the pudding. Kyle Flood has his proof. Pete Kwiatkowski has proved himself that they will develop you. They will get you where you need to go. From a high school recruiting standpoint, I don't think Texas could be in a better position. I think they're going to be so picky in 2026. If you get an offer that's committable in 2026, buddy, you better jump on that thing because there are not going to be very many of them.
Yeah.
Before we keep going, I see some people asking about portal stuff. Obviously, that's a big topic. Head to Inside Texas. That's where we're talking about that. We're trying to keep this one a little bit more recruiting focused, especially as the junior day is coming up sometime next week. Before we keep going, also quick word for our sponsor. That is Game Time. If you're looking for tickets in the NFL playoffs, NBA's ongoing, NHL concerts, anything like that. Hey, Texas baseball starts up in about 1 month's time, and you can get some tickets to the dish. Head to Game Time. Either use the Game Time app or go to gametime.co. Use the promo code ON3, ON3. Get $20 off your first purchase. It is a great app. I've been using it to buy and sell tickets for as long as they've been a part of Inside Texas football. You get to see where your seat is. You get to see how much it is. At the end, you're not surprised by fees or anything like that. You are able to know how much you're paying when you press submit. So Game Time, gametime.co. Use promo code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And Justin, you know what time it is.
Game time.
Well, we can dive into this a little bit. Texas losing so many to the draft. It's kind of scary.
Creature of success.
Here's something that is new, I think, for us. When and then I want to preempt this by saying Texas has not become peak Alabama. They have not become peak Georgia. That's not what they are right now. But they have some overlap in the fact that they're sending 8 to 11 players in the draft now in back-to-back years. So in back-to-back years, that's, 20 players of a 85-man scholarship roster who are going to the draft. That's a quarter. And it can be jarring, but Charlie, that's why you bring in these classes. So, and you retain them. That's another thing that you have to do now. That's a little bit more difficult. But you have to retain them and you bring in these classes. So, hey, you know what? Just throwing out a hypothetical. Neto Umeozulu has not really started or seen a ton of playing time, but he's about to be a fourth-year guy. He's watched other guys in his class compete. He's seeing Jake Majors and Hayden Connor leave. So there's an opportunity in the interior. And that's someone that, despite not playing that much, there's your opportunity. Cam Williams is a great example of that. And while that's not like just, constant at every position, that's what you try and strive for when you bring in these recruiting classes.
Yeah, Justin just hit on something with development, right? This is where it really shows, right? Those guys who've been waiting to play, how they get out there, how they look once they get out there. You've seen Trevor Gooseby step out there, look good. You saw Cam Williams in his first year. Now he's projected first-round pick. Like, they were on the bench. Now it's their time. So, honestly, this is where development really, really shows up in the staff. And you can really speak to that, right? Hey, this guy waited his turn. He didn't go jump in the portal. He stayed here and he fought the good fight to stay on his team. And so you can always speak to that, use it as a selling point. But we'll see how it shows up how these guys play next fall. But it's really about development at this point. Those guys who've been waiting their turn. And I hope they get out there and shine it. And I'm sure they will, because if you trust the coaches on this coaching staff, they haven't shown you anything different than, hey, they know how to develop. They know how to get you to the next level. I don't think you won't miss a beat as much if those guys have truly bought in and say, hey, I want to be the next best to get drafted out of here.
Justin?
Charlie said it. Like it's the creature of success. That's all it is. That's a good thing. It stings, but that's you adapt or die. The Moneyball theme, and it's one of those things where there are some really good young talented players in the program that haven't had their chance to start yet, and they're gonna have it this spring. Believe you me. They're going to get the opportunities. And you hope to see some of those guys like you saw with a Cam Williams. Ethan Burke made a jump this year. To me, it was pretty significant. There were a handful of those guys that made. Leona LaFau made a jump this year, and he didn't even begin the season as a starter. Benda was at first, I believe, and so it's one of those things where the development is going to be so key, because sometimes the NIL is going to bite you. Sometimes it's in your favor. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it goes against you. And so, but if you're developing within the recruiting classes you got, and like this group that Texas just brought into school a couple of days ago, this early enrollee class, I mean, these guys are phenomenal. And they're going to go in and watch guys that have been working, that haven't played much, try to start. So they're gonna see that it's almost going to be like an assembly line. And like Joe said, when Sark goes into the living room and says, "See, we got a quarterback here that's going to do that. We got 2 running backs over here that are going to do this. We got a receiver over here. You ever seen this big Wingo kid? Man, he's a prayer. We're going to have this." Like that to me is the best sales pitch of all. And so that's what you're going to see. When you recruit at this level, I think that's what you should do. I think these players should be ready. Your Jaden Chapmans, your Andre Kojos, your Neto Umeozulus, guys like that, your Zena Umeozulu. I think he's primed to make a jump. And then you got guys on campus already. Justice Terry, Lance Jackson. Those are guys that just saw the defensive line be one of the strongest in college football. I wanted to say the NFL, but the strongest in college football. That shows them there's an opportunity to jump in. And Trevor Goosby's the perfect example. That guy could start on any offensive line in college football, any of them. There's not one program in college football where he could not start, except for Texas. And now that guy, is going to be the man when he gets his turn. And so it's development, it's the NFL draft, it's all of the above. And I think that's why Sark gets paid what he gets paid, because it's a tough job. Recruiting high school kids is hard enough. Retention is even harder. But if you develop them, they'll come.
Okay.
And even to that point, a couple things. Jaden Chapman was trusted enough to be like the jumbo tight end. I know they didn't do that much this year. Yeah. But if you ever noticed, he was wearing number 90 something instead of 77 or 75. He's 75. You cannot catch a forward pass in college wearing number 50 through 79. So they put that on him in case they wanted to use him as that jumbo tight end. Never came up, but there's enough trust there.
He played basketball.
And I wanted to bring up maybe.
Sorry, Joe, there's a little lag there.
Exactly. And I think the other thing, internet's acting weird here, but Coach, I wanted to bring this up. Go get Felix Ojo. So think about it. There's also this aspect of it. And I always go back to, as weird as it sounds, Casey Thompson and Cam Rising. Hold on, this makes sense. When Casey Thompson and Cam Rising show up and commit in the class of 2018, the year before, all they had seen was Shane Buechele and Sam Ehlinger go back and forth. Yeah. We may have all had a sense that, like, okay, this is Sam's job. He's going to get it. But if you're a high school kid, and if at that time you're Tim Beck, you're like, job's open. You might be able to come in and compete. And that's tough at quarterback, obviously. It's even tough at left tackle. But if you're a coach talking to Felix Ojo right now, if you're Kyle Flood, you can go over there and say, like, just lost Kelvin Banks to the draft, just lost Cam Williams to the draft. Trevor Goosby has about, 100-something snaps in his career. Yeah. Brandon Baker has about 30 snaps in his career. There's opportunity. And that resonates. Now, the season could play out how it does, and maybe those opportunities dry up when Goosby and Baker or whoever plays those positions start to really take hold. But that's something that this team can also sell. Even with all the NFL, they have the capability to be like, there is opportunity if you come in and want to grab it.
Yeah, let me tell you. Or something like that being said to Felix Ojo will make him grin from ear to ear, because that's all he wants to do is come in somewhere and to compete. And so Kyle Flood messages, hey, you can get a chance to come here and compete. We got one guy who played a few snaps. We got to get one other guy unproven, but you get a chance to come in here right away and compete and plan for playing time. You get the chance to push those guys. I'm pretty sure that's something Felix would want to hear, because all he wants to do is prove somebody that he can play, that he's one of the best offensive linemen. And so if you you've been on IT and seen him, me and Justin talked to him and posted some notes on him, that's all he talks about is competition, competing. He's not afraid of it. He wants it. He welcomes it. So coming to a place like Texas where he know he'll be developed and a chance to compete, I think he'd be all for it. And somebody like that, I think Cal Flood, I'm sure, taking a ton of guards maybe in this 25 class, tackles a need. There you go.
It's not. It doesn't hurt that Texas could have 2 first-round picks be your bookend tackles from 2024. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't hurt. If anything, that helps because John Turntime, he wants to play in the league. Felix Ojo, him too. He wants to play in the league. I think that's also a good little, a little outlier that people have to factor in. And these kids are getting more confident by the day. They want to come in and play immediately. Michael Fasusi, one of the main recruiting points for him and why he picked Oklahoma is because he saw a faster path to the field. Yeah. It's about that. Look how bad Oklahoma was this year. I mean, bad. Like Ian Boyd told us how bad. I mean, he illustrated it perfectly. They still landed big-time offensive tackles. You know why? Because they've developed them. Because Beatonball knows what he's doing. Texas has a dozen of those guys, and I think that's what's helping them right now.
Before we get out of here, Justin, you're working on something that we'll probably have up on Inside Texas. And again, if you're all trying to, if we're working on the portal stuff, rumor stuff like that, Inside Texas is the place to check out. We even had some positive updates on keeping some big parts of the 2025 roster.
One thing we had posted earlier that I would love for the fans to come see. Hey, these coaches are hitting the road this week. It's going to start tomorrow, and really it's going to start Wednesday and Thursday. And these coaches are going all over the country to go see the best and the brightest from 2026 and 2027. I've updated the list. We posted it maybe a couple hours ago. Come see us at Inside Texas. If you want to know who Texas is really looking at 2026, follow the coaches. And we know where they're going. We posted it in a story earlier. Come see us for that because that'll give you, if you want to know where 2026 is headed, look where the coaches are going. And we've got that news for you, waiting for you.
Real quick, Justin, you just give us a little preview of you talked to Dia Bell a little bit, starting to step into a ringleader role. Yeah. We got a couple minutes left, but what's something that people may be able to expect to see from that story of yours?
Yeah, look. Man, Dia's growing on me. This kid is so competitive. His little brother is probably a Division I level basketball player. I think he's 27. I think his name's Tia too. Tia and Dia, something like that. They're all basketball players. Raj is the dad. I mean, that's just going to come with the territory. But Dia was playing basketball, was supposed to play this year, and he's been hampered by his injury that he suffered, late in the season last year, so he's not able to play. Right. It was killing him last night. Because we're texting back and forth, and he's at his brother's game, and he's like, "Man, I wish I could go out there." And I asked him, I said, "Do you actually hoop too?" And he goes, "Oh, that's my first love. I want to be out there with my brother, but I'm hurt. I can't. I got to I'm in my football mindset. I can't do that anymore." And you just could feel the energy, and he really dove in deep. We talked last night. He really dove in deep about how he's going to build out this class. I said, "Do you understand? That's kind of a big responsibility for a 16, 17-year-old kid." He said, absolutely. He said, that's why I picked Texas. He said that because of the expectation, it's going to force me to be more extroverted. It's going to force him to kind of come out of his bubble a little bit, maybe of being shy or so forth, and help build out potentially another number 1 class. And again, Texas is coming off back-to-back Final Four appearances, college football playoff. You're going to see the fruits of that in this 2026 cycle. I am having the hardest time saying that today. You're going to see the fruit of that. But hey, just come see us in Inside Texas. I'll have that one up pretty quick. Dia really dives into a lot of good stuff. And let me tell you something, Texas fans, Dia Bell is that guy. Like, he has the attributes, and you can tell him with his dad and with his brother. Those are all competitors in that house. Like, it is crazy how competitive they are. And that's gonna exude from him once he gets on campus. He will be in Austin in 2 weeks for Junior Day. He'll be there on the 25th. I can't wait to see him. But the story's going to be at Inside Texas pretty soon, so you don't have to wait that long.
Exactly. Make sure you head to InsideTexas.com. All the different stuff covering the portal, everything. Make sure you head there. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Any big news, we'll obviously have some updates on here. So, Coach, I know, long way away.
Man,
I
don't know. I feel like I'm watching the History Channel.
It's hard to see someone from Vietnam being a Longhorns fan, but we got our diehards all over the world, and bless them for sure. So, Coach, thank you. Justin, thank you. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.